And basically the question is, what promises do you believe replacement theology revokes or removes from Israel? And we can go back and forth a little bit on that one, but let's start with Pastor Tommy and give you a few minutes at least to respond to that one and give your perspective on that question.
Yeah. So when it comes to, that question, I hear that all the time, that you're claiming that God broke his promises to Israel. But again, what about what Paul said when it says wrath has come on them to the uttermost? Was Paul just wrong about that? What about what Jesus said in Luke 19:27? But those mine enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me. And this is clearly about his return in his kingdom. When is that going to happen? Without a doubt, he's talking about the Jews. When he said to the fig tree, let no fruit grow on thee henceforth forever, he said that after going into the temple in the triumphal entry, after only part of Zechariah 9 was fulfilled. Go read all of Zechariah 9. We all know 9:9, but look at all the things after that said was going to happen. None of those things happened. You know why? Because when he went in there, they weren't ready. They had not purified themselves. He did not purify the sons of Levi so they could offer up an acceptable sacrifice like in the days of old, like it talks about in the book of Malachi, like it said it was going to come, how the Lord would suddenly come into his temple. None of those things happened because they weren't ready. And Jesus rejected them because there was no fruit. He said to them, my house should be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you've made it into a den of thieves. They were still keeping Gentiles out. If you go read the prophecies while they were in the Babylonian exile, there were very specific instructions in Ezekiel about the temple and about how to include Gentiles and how they could include the eunuchs and how they could include all these other people. The Jews didn't do any of the things that God said to do. And because they didn't do it, God said in Zechariah 6:19, I think it is, all these things will come to pass if ye will obey. They did not obey. Ezekiel has prophecies said these things will happen if. There's ifs. They did not do these things. What about, when, God told Abraham that if they weren't circumcised, that they would be cut off as a people for breaking his covenant. What about what was said in Galatians chapter 3, when it's quoting Deuteronomy? It says, for as many as are of the works of the law are under the curse, for it is written, cursed is everyone that continueth not in all things that are written in the book of the law to do them. There we see major judgment coming. We see the very last verse in the book of Malachi. He said, I'm going to send my messenger and he's going to prepare the way of the Lord. And he's going to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, children to the fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. We see all these, God saying all these things he's going to do if they reject the Messiah, if they don't obey. They didn't obey. And for some reason, dispensationalists are just like, doesn't matter. All Israel's still going to be saved in the future anyway. So I think dispensationalists are the ones teaching that God broke his promises to Israel. I believe God's going to keep all of those promises. And even though we've all broken law and the law and the covenants and everything, we can be cleansed through the blood of Christ. And now is the accepted time. Now is the day of salvation. The Apostle Paul was quoting a passage from Isaiah that is funny in my Bible too, right before it says, in a time acceptable I have heard thee. It says in the notes in my Bible, the restoration of Israel. And so understand, how is God going to restore Israel after they've been scattered, after all the sins, after all the laws that they have broken? By sending Jesus Christ, paying for their sins, and now is the day of salvation. And if they wait until Jesus Christ returns, it will be too late. Those who would not that he should reign over them, he's going to slay them. He is going to kill them. That is their future, unless right now they get saved, because they're not cast away. They can be saved right now, and they can be saved until that fullness of the Gentiles come in. Once that multitude of Gentiles comes in and Jesus Christ returns, it's too late after that. And they're, who are these children of the kingdom? Said they're going to come from the east and the west, and they're going to sit with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast into outer darkness. So there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. When's God going to fulfill that promise? So I need to know what you do with those verses.